Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Ben here, and welcome to my Game of the Year celebration, where today I'm talking about my favorite games of 2025. 2025 was supposed to be a disappointing year for games, between games like GTA 6 and Gears of War E-Day getting delayed, Microsoft in general becoming a shell of themselves, and publishers pushing for $80 video games. The industry was heading in the wrong direction. But in spite of that, 2025 ended up becoming one of the best years of the whole generation. It was a year that had one of the greatest months in video game history, a topic I talked about in my last video, where September alone delivered more amazing games than most years manage on their own. And guess what? 6 games from that month alone made it into this list, which is pretty damn impressive. 2025 was also a year that had 3 indie games up for Game of the Year, and it also delivered a game that I would consider one of my favorite games of all time now. So today, I'm counting down my top 10 games of 2025, and I'm going to show you why this year was so damn good. So let's go ahead and kick things off with my 2 honorable mentions this year. For my first honorable mention is a game that almost didn't make the list. If I had to finalize my rankings halfway through playing Little Nightmares 3, it wouldn't have made it at all. The first half of this game is so painfully slow and boring that I almost quit, especially when you compare it to the first 2 Little Nightmares games, which pull you in immediately. I mean, in the first 10 minutes of Little Nightmares 2, you're basically being chased by my favorite boss of the whole series, the Hunter. Little Nightmares 2 showed you how you need to open a video game. It was intense, exciting, and scary right off the bat. In Little Nightmares 3, it takes almost 30 minutes just to see your first boss. Visually it's cool, but it wasn't remotely scary at all. To be honest, I wouldn't have opened the game with that giant baby. And by the time you reach the first semi-interesting boss in the game, you're almost an hour in. The pacing just feels off. Really, up until you reach the carnival section, I would have rated this game like a 6 out of 10. But by the second half, I felt like it had finally picked up, and the puzzles became much more interesting. And the boss encounters improved so much, it at least felt on par with the first 2 games at that point. So if you're a fan of Little Nightmares and gave up pretty early in this game, maybe go back and just try and finish it, because there is some great moments in the second half of the game, and the final boss is actually pretty damn good. And by the end, I found myself pretty excited for the DLC they have planned for some time in 2026. Now, for my second honorable mention, I'm going to go with South of Midnight, which is a game that while I was playing it, I honestly felt like it could be a frontrunner for Game of the Year. Granted, I was only a couple hours into the game, and it was only the month of April last year, so we had barely gotten any of the games in 2025 yet. But I was highly impressed with what I had played so far. That opening section with the storm and the river looked so good and it was fun to play. It seriously has one of the most amazing art styles. It's a combination of cel-shaded visuals with a clay look. I've never seen anything quite like it. I really enjoyed the nostalgic level design. It's linear with a main path, but you're always rewarded with going down like an alternate path for a minute, and it never leads too far away. The level design reminds me of something like Uncharted or Alan Wake. It always keeps the narrative moving, but it gives you that slight feeling you're exploring as well. I miss that type of game, man. Outside forest areas always looked amazing, and I especially loved the look of the inside areas. Whenever you'd go inside a building, it made me want a whole game that looks like this, like a survival horror game with this art style. Please, someone make that. Music is definitely a highlight in this game too. It's composed by Olivier Derivière, who has become one of my favorite composers during this whole generation. Every soundtrack he works on is not only good, but it's unique too. So you might ask, why did this go from frontrunner in April to honorable mention today? It really just comes down to one thing, the combat. Just like Banisher's last year, the whole game is really good overall, except for its combat. While it's not awful, and it shouldn't scare you from playing this game, I still love the game. It's the one thing that's holding it back. But if you're looking to play a game with a good story, with some standout characters, good music, and one of the best art styles of the year, definitely check this game out.
Can this take me to my mama?
Alright, now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, without further ado, let's get into my top 10 games of 2025.
Is anyone there?
Starting off this year's list at number 10, and my runner-up survival horror game of the year is Silent Hill F. Over the past couple years, the Silent Hill series has taken some massive risk. With the series being dormant for over a decade, they really needed to knock this return out of the park. And after beating the game, I think the game is pretty damn good. But I will admit, I did miss being in Silent Hill. It felt like I was staying in a fancy hotel. You know, it's exciting at first, but eventually you're gonna want to go home. And that's what I constantly kept feeling while I was playing it. But on the other hand, I don't mind that they tried something different. They'll eventually go back to Silent Hill in the next game, or I don't know how many games from now. But in Silent Hill F, it still retains that atmosphere from the other games. The narrative is creepy and keeps you wondering what the hell is going on the whole time. They definitely do a good job of building up the tension and the confusion. I really love the map. It's probably the most artistic map I've ever seen. The way they present all of this stuff makes you actually want to read it. Let's talk about the most divisive part of the game, and why it's only at my number 10 spot. I like the combat a lot when you're fighting one or two enemies, but when it gets to the sections where there are a ton of enemies to fight, that's when it starts to grind on me a little bit. And one of the main reasons I would struggle playing it for a whole second time. But then again, I love the survival horror mechanics, and the puzzles were great overall. It's not a perfect return, but I'd give it a passing grade of an F.
Go. Don't go. Your father's just worried.
I'm gonna go see my friends.
Come home soon.
Man, it feels good to be back. After letting the Dead Island series overtake the market as the best first-person zombie game, Techland has responded with Dying Light the Beast. And what a beautiful response it was. It's brutal, beautiful, and fun to play. But one of the things I was most excited about was its new setting. If you were to ask me what my favorite setting for any game is, it would be the Pacific Northwest, or anywhere with a national park, or just anywhere with evergreen trees, really. So when Dying Light the Beast was announced to take place in a mountainous town of Castor Woods, and there would be a national park in the game, I was so excited. And I gotta say, I love this new open world. It's actually got so much more variety than the previous two games. There are towns, swamps, farmlands, industrial areas, and of course the national park. And best of all, it's littered with tons of zombies, making it beautiful yet horrifying all at the same time. The nighttime, specifically, is darker and more scary. Avoiding volatiles is actually intense again. And as for the biggest selling point in this game, it has to be the beast powers, which actually lets you go apeshit on zombies every so often, which can be pretty damn satisfying. I thought this would actually be an addition that makes the game too easy, but they do a good job of making the zombies either stronger or there's just more in general. So sometimes the beast mode actually will save your ass. Side missions in this game are actually really good. A lot of times they're better than the main quest, so I would definitely not skip them if you can. I do gotta bring up one complaint about the visuals though. While this game can be absolutely beautiful at times, with things like reflection off the water and the way the trees and the foliage move around. Like, my god, this feels so alive. I mean, look at these trees and stuff flowing around. But this game seems to have some kind of resolution problem or something. It's mostly when you're outside, but everything seems to look fuzzy. Up close objects like your hands and weapons actually look really good and crisp. Even indoors look great, but outside it feels like everything is fuzzy, especially like fields of wheat and stuff like that. It's kind of distracting. I couldn't help but think that, man, this game is going to look amazing in a few years when a new console comes out or we get a remastered version or something, because I just wanted the game to look crisp. With all that said though, I am really happy with the direction of the franchise, and as of right now, Dying Light the Beast is the highest rated game in the series.
Alright, Old Town should be getting power now.
Thanks for taking care of it.
It's what I do.
When it comes to Hollow Knight Silksong, this game has moved around on my list more than any other game this year, going from absolute perfection at number 1, down to number 7, back up to number 4, to just completely off this list. This game plays with your emotions, man. Over my 40 hours of playtime, I've started and stopped playing this game so many times it's insane, and not necessarily because of the difficulty. It is a difficult game, but it's more the frustrating aspects surrounding the difficulty. In this game, there are so many insanely long runbacks to bosses, which will break even the strongest gamers. This game is notorious for having your jaw on the floor from amazement to complete frustration in a matter of seconds. Once you respawn and realize you gotta re-platform up these places just to have another chance to fight the boss is pretty damn frustrating. But when you finally get to fight those bosses, they are so good. I especially enjoyed the Widow and the Great Conch Flies. Those are two of my favorites. And even though this game frustrates the hell out of me, I still think about it all the time. Let me first start off by talking about what I loved about this game. The art in the game is inspiring, man. It's one of those games that triggers that itch to go make your own game, especially since this whole game was made by 3 people. We all thought 7 years was such a long time to wait for this game, but after you play Silksong, it's clear these guys weren't slacking off. The game is absolutely huge. Just the amount of art and gameplay systems, and even just the music, it's mind-boggling that this was a 3-man team. And the fact that it was only $19.99 makes it easily the best gaming deal of the year. Christopher Larkin was brought back to create the soundtrack, and now he's using a full orchestra, and you can definitely feel the difference. This is without a doubt my favorite soundtrack of the year. It's hard to pick any of them above the rest, but I thought Deep Docks was especially impactful when I first entered that area. And another great one was Greymore. And how can I forget Biowater? All I can say is wow. Well done, Mr. Larkin. And that's just 3 of the 53 songs on the soundtrack. And I think Silksong, like I said, has the best soundtrack of the year. And it's a big reason why I kept returning to the game. There are definitely a few things holding this game back from being perfect, but there are so many things perfect about it. And that's why Silksong threads its way in to the number 8 spot. Out of all the games this year, I'd say Expedition 33 has the best opening hours of any game. The highs and lows that you feel, all within the first act of the game, would shake anyone to their core. And I know this has been talked about to death by now, but I really enjoyed how they integrated the real-time elements into the turn-based combat. The one thing about turn-based combat that has always bothered me forever is that your characters are almost always going to take damage during the enemy's turn, meaning for the next turn or so, you're almost forced to focus on healing up yourself, which was always my least favorite parts of those games. That's where Expedition 33 sets itself apart. As long as you're good enough, you can avoid damage altogether by either blocking or parrying your enemy's attacks. The fact that you can go into a fight and get out without taking any damage is pretty damn satisfying. But for me, the most memorable part of this game is the world map. Each time I entered that masterpiece of an overworld map, I just felt this massive feeling of euphoria, like I was watching Never-Ending Story or something.
anyone who's ever made a wish.
So with all that said, why is an Expedition higher on the list? It's not because there's anything wrong with the game. Honestly, I can't think of too many faults. This game has one of the best stories of the year, incredible music, and some of the strongest performances of 2025. But for me, it comes down to the gameplay. I've come to realize I'm just not the biggest fan of turn-based combat. I know there are a lot of fans that are celebrating the return of the turn-based combat, but for me, it's never been my favorite type of gameplay. This is the first turn-based combat game I've even considered for my top 10 games since Child of Light. It really speaks to how much I loved everything else about the game. So while I understand why this game earned all the praise and awards it did, for me, it just falls a little bit short because of that gameplay. And that's why it paints itself in at the number 7 spot. My friends, I have officially taken the oath and come out the other side, and all I gotta say is wow, this story really delivered. It really felt like I was playing through a great Mafia movie. I thought it had a great ending. The way they portrayed the beginnings of the Mafia and being part of Enzo's entry into the Teresi family was not only compelling, but intense at times. The game has some great performances, especially from Dawn and Enzo, and outside of Mind's Eye, this is pretty much the only third-person cover shooter this year. These types of games are so rare nowadays, I just appreciate when we get a good one. I love how cinematic the gunplay feels, it's weighty and feels solid overall, but my absolute favorite part of this game is the driving. The driving in this game feels so unique, man. I don't think I've ever experienced driving mechanics quite like this before. It feels almost like you're surfing with the car. It glides around and it's kind of floaty in a way, but it feels awesome. And when you're in the middle of a chase scene and you're treated with some of the best skyboxes of any game, I mean, look at these clouds, man. That looks amazing. These were some of my favorite parts of the game. I think the only thing holding this game back was its lack of use of its open world. They built out this amazing city and setting, and it never feels like you're incentivized to explore it. It just feels like a backdrop and you're just traveling through it from mission to mission. Hell, they even give you an option to skip the rides, which I never actually did because I loved the driving so much. But you're not going to get an experience like Red Dead Redemption 2, where you're running into strangers on the way or events on the road, which was kind of disappointing. After the release, they did release a free ride mode, which actually added a ton of content. I gotta shout out the assassination ones. In these, you have to eliminate all the enemies and loot 3 chests within 10 minutes. And I loved it, man. I kept failing, but I just wanted to keep trying. It was like challenging in a good way. So all I gotta say is if you're looking to play through a great Mafia story, solid cover mechanics, and the funnest driving of the year, I can't recommend this game enough. Taking the crown for my favorite survival horror game this year is Chronos: The New Dawn. Out of all the games this year, it might have the best elevator pitch for a video game. Chronos takes place in a brutal, future post-apocalyptic Poland, and you assume the role of the Traveler. And it's your mission to travel back in time and bring important people from the past to help the humanity of the future. That pitch for a dark-themed time travel story has had me excited ever since they revealed it back in October 2024. This game even got me to start watching Dark on Netflix because they said it was inspired by that show. And I gotta say, the tone of the game is really close to the show, so they nailed it. While I wouldn't put it in the upper echelon of survival horror games, it's definitely one of the best new horror games we've gotten this whole generation. It's a perfect mixture of Dead Space and Silent Hill. While it's not as scary as those two games, I'd say it's actually a bit harder than those two. This game will definitely challenge you, and I think the main reason has got to be its inventory system, which is actually one of the most restrictive ones I've ever seen. You really gotta strategize what you want to carry around. Even items like bolt cutters, which would normally be a permanent item on your character, takes up an inventory slot. The game is also much slower and strategic feeling than those other games. At times you'll be slowly moving around the environments just to catch enemies off guard, and that's why I want to call out the integrity scanner, which is probably my favorite thing they added in this whole game. It's this attachment for your gun that allows you to point it at enemies. It'll turn green when they're actually alive, because a lot of these enemies are either sleeping or playing dead in this game. And you might be thinking, well, doesn't that ruin the surprise or make it less scary knowing the enemies are alive? I honestly didn't think so. I felt like it actually built up the tension more than anything. Just knowing that there's an enemy playing dead across the room was actually pretty intimidating and played into more of a psychological feeling more than a jump scare, which I thought was actually pretty brilliant. It made the enemies feel smarter and more calculated. It's actually a very similar feeling the nurses gave me in the Silent Hill 2 remake, who love to run and hide from you. If you watch my channel frequently, you know I love to highlight save room music, and Chronos has some of the best save room music of the year. Just listen to this. Another thing I enjoyed was collecting cats as collectibles. Gave me Evil Within vibes. So now, after Bloober has released 3 great games in a row, I think it's safe to say that Bloober is one of the best developers now. I cannot wait for Silent Hill 1 Remake, which is actually my personal favorite original Silent Hill, and at this rate it seems like they're going to knock that out of the park too. And recently Bloober has also been teasing a secret on Twitter, which is a jumbled up message. Not sure what it means yet, but the timer ends sometime around Valentine's Day.
Well, daughter of Hades, princess of the underworld, 'twould seem that you are finally prepared.
With how massive the first Hades game was, this sequel had a lot to live up to. And when it comes to the gameplay, I think Supergiant Games absolutely delivered. Combat feels familiar in all the right ways, and the developer went all in with brand new weapons for the sequel. Every weapon is themed around the new main character, Melinoy, the princess of the underworld and Hades' daughter. That also makes her Zagreus' sister, the protagonist of the first game, which is pretty damn cool. There's a ton of variety here too. One of my favorites that I didn't think I would like was the one where you throw the skulls at enemies and then call them back. I don't think I've ever seen a weapon like that in a game. But when it comes to the level design, I feel like this was one of the biggest leaps they made. Instead of only ascending towards the surface like in the first game, you now have the option to go downwards through the underworld as well, essentially doubling the amount of content in the game. Each direction has its own bosses and encounters too, and the fact that you can choose which path you can take whenever you want is a welcome addition. And along with this, one of my favorite areas in the game was the city of Ephora, a large hub-like room filled with multiple doors, each offering a different god power. Once you go in, kill a bunch of enemies, you return to the main area, and then you can pick another. And you can do this up to 6 times. And after that, the path forward finally unlocks and the rest of the doors disappear. So you better make sure you choose what you want. I love how much freedom this gives you to customize your build early on in the run, while still forcing you to make tough decisions. It's one of my favorite parts of the game, and honestly why I always like going up instead of down, but both ways are fun. And then back at your base, you have the cauldron system, which adds a great layer of progression. It lets you upgrade not only your base, but the runs as well, unlocking new room types that benefit you along the way. Things like healing rooms with no combat or merchant stations randomly appear in different rooms. Now, for the negatives. For me, the story isn't as strong as the first game. I found it a little less compelling overall. The relationship banter between Zagreus and Hades in the original hit me a little harder. Melinoy isn't a bad character by any means, but she feels a little bit too noble or too polite.
She expects a lot from you, but that's just what happens when you have such potential.
Then she must be disappointed with my results, although she's careful not to show it. Same as you, Odysseus.
Which kind of surprised me because she's Hades' daughter. She never loses her cool or shows very many flaws, which could kind of get boring after a while. While I still prefer Zagreus as a character, I do think stakes in Hades 2 are higher. The dual storylines add a lot of intrigue, trying to save your father from Kronos, while also pushing upwards to help the gods defend the surface, had a lot more urgency. The first game had a lot more of a lighthearted tone. It's essentially just you trying to escape from your dad. I think it'll just come down to everyone's personal preference. I also thought some of the god redesigns were downgrades as well. Zeus went from a complete badass wearing a toga to someone that feels like he's cosplaying Zeus. The real Zeus wouldn't cover up his muscles with armor, and I feel like his head should be consumed by his hair like a lion mane. That's the Zeus I know. Aphrodite now looks like a middle-aged woman, which was kind of jarring when I first saw it. I get time has passed, but I didn't realize gods aged so much. And then there's Demeter, who went from an elegant ice goddess to what now feels like a grandma who joined the Trojan army. They're not terrible. I mean, the art is amazing. I could never make these myself. It just feels a bit off when you're comparing it to the original game. That said, there are so many new amazing characters that I loved that in the end the changes didn't even really matter. And honestly, the overall art direction in this game still blows me away, especially the environments. One of my favorite looking areas in the game is the pirate ships, which never got old to me. And Hades 2, I would say, is more addictive than the first game. No run ever feels wasted because you're always collecting resources, unlocking upgrades, and crafting new things back at the cauldron. I can't count how many times I died thinking, I'll never get a build like that again, only for the next run to be even better. And that's what makes this game so special. The game consistently surprised me like that. And after playing it, I think Hades 2 might be one of the best sequels in a long time.
Just have to get from here to all the way up there.
Now, I want to introduce you to the most adrenaline-inducing title screen since Elden Ring. I swear guys, the first Berserker Kazan is a power trip from the heavens. If you're looking for a game that makes you feel like a complete badass, like you're watching the movie Troy on repeat, this is the game for you. In this game you play as Kazan, who's a famous general that's out for revenge after being falsely accused of treason and has been exiled from the kingdom. And I gotta say, this revenge story is compelling all throughout. It's not only the most badass game of the year, it is the hardest one I played as well, even beating out Silksong. And it takes the crown for the most deaths I've ever had in a video game. While that may not sound enticing, it did lead me to feeling the most satisfaction I've ever felt after beating a video game. I really didn't think I could pull it off. Bosses like Maluka pushed me to my limits, and the final boss took me over 3 days to beat. Not 3 hours, 3 days. But once I did, I honestly felt like this game changed me. Because if I could overcome these odds, I knew I never had to give up on a game again. So you might be asking, why did I get so frustrated with a game like Silksong and not Kazan the First Berserker? Well, I do truly believe Kazan is harder. I felt like Kazan actually respected my time more. First off, the save points are almost always right outside the boss room, meaning there's no agonizing runbacks to bosses like Silksong had, which allows you to attempt the boss fight over and over again at will. And on top of that, Kazan has one of the coolest mechanics I've seen in a long time. Each time you fight a boss and die, you aren't just thrown to the wayside with nothing to show for it. You earn Lacrima each time you fight, and Lacrima is what you use to level up your character. It's the equivalent of souls in like Dark Souls. And depending on how far you get into the fight, the more Lacrima you get. So instead of hitting a wall with the boss and needing to go somewhere else in the game and farm and get stronger, you're actually incentivized to keep fighting the boss. And by doing this, you naturally get stronger as well. I can't express how great this is, man. The Souls-like genre has been around for almost 16 years now, and this is the first game to think of this. Overall, I just think this game is the perfect package. The game's revenge story was super compelling, Kazan is a great main character, and I gotta mention the art style. It should have been on the list for nominees of Art Direction of the Year. So if you want to try out the best Souls-like since Liza P and want to take on the toughest challenge in gaming, I think you should. You might just come out the other side a better gamer.
It seems we are ready.
Coming in at number 2, and the biggest underdog of the countdown, is Hell Is Us. If you were to tell me Hell Is Us would be in the top 2 games this year, I wouldn't have believed you. I did have it in my most anticipated game video last year, and I was excited for it, but for it to be as good as it is, I wouldn't have predicted that. Honestly, this game has some of the most satisfying and thought-provoking gameplay I've experienced in a long time. It's essentially a detective game in disguise where you have to explore, find clues, talk to NPCs, and try and figure out where to go next. It's got a very traditional adventure game style feeling where you'll find items and every item has a purpose, whether it's to solve a puzzle or give to an NPC, and it's not always immediately, it could be later on in the game. Just to give you an example, there's this guy that keeps saying he needs a camera lens, but at this point in the game you haven't seen one, so you just move on and forget about it, and then 10 or 15 hours pass and you finally discover one, and you instantly get this feeling of, oh shit, I remember that guy that needed this, so you go back and either progress that quest or complete it. And this game is littered with all kinds of this stuff. It's these little dopamine hits that just feel so good while you're playing it, that not only make you feel smart, but require you to even remember that the camera guy even existed in the first place. So having your phone or notepad handy to write things down in real life is definitely a good idea. I do want to talk about the art direction too in this game. It was always making me stop and look around in amazement. It just feels so good to look at. Just the world building in this game is so good. You're in the middle of a civil war in this game and you're looking for your parents, and they really do not hold back the visuals and depicting of the war. I won't spoil some parts of it for you, but in this game it's like horrific, but it's also tasteful in a way, like it's not there for no purpose. It just feels realistic. Out of all games this year, this is the one I hope people give a shot, just because I'm not sure how well it's doing sales-wise. If you're a fan of action-adventure games with great puzzles and a compelling world, you gotta give Hell Is Us a chance, man. It definitely does deserve it.
You must continue. What we've begun to uncover.
Hey, brother. Did you miss me? Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent.
Coming in at number 1, and my favorite game of 2025, is Death Stranding 2. The feeling I felt when wrapping up this story still gives me goosebumps. I honestly can't stop thinking about this game, man, and how it was able to follow up one of the best endings in gaming history. Death Stranding 2 took everything from the first game, and every single complaint I could think of, and fixed it. It really is a monumental achievement of how many things they improved, while keeping the soul of the first game. I mean, now you can auto-organize your cargo from quick menus. Repairing vehicles is pretty much instantaneous now. You don't have to send them into the garage and get them back out.
Nice repair job. She's practically sparkling.
Did you find it annoying maybe in the first game where all the shelter rewards were kind of shrouded in mystery? Well, the second game teases future rewards so you can decide to grind for them or not. The robotic glitchy driving from the first game is gone. The driving feels amazing in this game. And the vehicle with the upgrades can climb almost any surface too. They added a monorail system which allows you to transport you and your cargo, bypassing a lot of walking and driving. And I could honestly keep going for hours. I mean, okay, the stealth is improved in this game. So many weapons with silencers, so you can basically act like you're freaking Snake in this game, man. And I do gotta say, this game is absolutely beautiful. I haven't taken this many screenshots for a game in a long time, probably since A Plague Tale Requiem. And I know a lot of people would say Expedition 33 has the best story of the year, but if I had to put my money on one narrative, it would be Death Stranding 2. After the first game blew me away with its ending, I honestly had so many doubts the second game could even come close to matching that story. But Kojima managed to defy the odds again and completely blew my mind. And after knowing how things ended up in this story, and I'm not going to spoil it, but everything becomes so obvious. It's like a Christopher Nolan film. Your second watch, you start to see all the signs. And I know it's easy to make fun of Kojima's writing and some of the characters, but when it comes to the main plot and his endings, it's so cleverly written that it's almost impossible to know what's going to happen. Kojima, for me at least, has cemented himself as the king of endings. And for this game to put together one of the best soundtracks of the year too, the main song called To the Wilder, which is the same song they played during its trailers, gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. And it's probably my vote for main theme of the year. And when all is said and done, this game could be up there as a top 10 game of all time for me. I do gotta give it some more time, you know, I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but that's how much it impacted me at the end. And that, my friends, is why Death Stranding 2 is my favorite game of 2025. I can't believe how good this year turned out. We had one of the best months in gaming history in September, and the whole last half of the year was so packed, it was insane, which is crazy because 2026 coming up. The first 5 months, there's so many damn games, and that's actually going to be my next video. I'm going to be talking about my most anticipated games of 2026. Also, if you guys would like to subscribe, that would be amazing. Let's make my 6th year on YouTube the year I actually hit 1,000 subs. That would be awesome. Anyways, guys, thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the countdown. And until next time, stay in the light, my friends. Later.